Hey there, STEM enthusiasts! Welcome back to Kameron's Lab, Dive In, the go-to podcast for STEM students, crafted with passion by one of your own. I'm Kameron, your enthusiastic and ever-curious host. Buckle up for today's insightful episode. Ready to dive in? Perfect. So, hi again, everyone. Welcome back to Kameron's Lab. So today I'm here at Lloyd. That's the insurance marketplace here in London. And you're probably thinking, I thought this was a STEM podcast. Well, today we are branching out a little bit more into the insurance side. So I'm originally from Bermuda, as you already know, and one of our big pillars, economic pillars, is having insurance and reinsurance. So what I wanted to share is how students can get involved in that and the different opportunities that there are. Me, myself, I have the 2021 Renaissance Re Scholarship. Very grateful to that. Thank you, Renry. And I wanted to be able to show students what kind of opportunities are available to them and also what makes insurance so important. So today I'm here with Miss Chloe Kaye. She's from the Lloyd's Lab. So she'll be explaining what they do and also how you can get involved later and what kind of opportunities there are available. So hi, Chloe. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Kameron. Thank you for having me. So should I start by introducing myself?
Yes, please.
So my name's Chloe, as Kameron very nicely explained. So I work in the Lloyd's Lab. So I'm a Lloyd's Lab associate, which means I'm responsible for sourcing InsurTech companies, getting them onto our program and getting them launched into the insurance industry. So, and specifically the Lloyd's market. So I will briefly explain to you what the Lloyd's Lab is and also what InsurTech means. Some of you probably aren't aware what that term means, but as you'll find out soon, it's a very easy term to understand.
Thank you so much. So if you wouldn't mind just starting off, I suppose, with what is InsurTech so that we know what it is.
Great question. So InsurTech is, as the two words are together, insurance and tech. So fintech is financial tech. You might have heard of some big financial tech, fintech companies. So InsurTech is any kind of tech company that is focusing on insurance or wants to work in the insurance space. So they're often startups, InsurTech. So startups that want to work into the insurance market, startups that have tech, that are focusing on how they can innovate in the insurance market. But basically, in a nutshell, any company that's just utilizing insurance and tech together.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And then if you could explain what Lloyd's Lab is. Mm-hmm. So just for those who don't know, Lloyd's Lab is a part of Lloyd's, which I mentioned is the big insurance marketplace that's actually really has a lot of history, about 350 years of history, exactly. I think. So they insured the Titanic, the first motor car. They have a huge history behind them. So if you could explain like what Lloyd's Lab is, that way they can get a little idea.
Sure. So as Kameron very nicely explained, Lloyd's, the marketplace, has a really long and extensive history, and Lloyd's Lab has a bit less history. So we were launched in 2018, so 5.5 years ago now, and our aim was to increase the pace of successful innovation in the market. So it's a very old market, and whilst we've been working on like the first motor insurance, first of many different types of insurance, such as automotive vehicles, which is actually has been in like the recent decades. But what we aim to do is to make sure that the insurance market is constantly innovating as the world changes. More things are like, we've got AI, lots of different tech is coming in. The insurance market needs to change with that. So the Lloyd's Lab was set up to try and increase that innovation. And our main program that we run is an accelerator program, which is where, as I spoke about before, we get something called InsurTechs in. So we have around 10 to 12 InsurTechs in our accelerator program, which we run twice a year, this program. And the accelerator program is for InsurTechs to get mentors from the Lloyd's market to work on their product development and then to launch into the Lloyd's market, so into the insurance world, and start covering new risks, such as AI, even IVF insurance has come through the Lloyd's Lab, new cyber insurance. So loads of cool things like that. COVID-19 vaccine insurance also came through the Lloyd's Lab. So that's what we aim to do, is to get those companies in to innovate the Lloyd's market. And it's a very, very competitive process. We usually get around 200 InsurTechs that apply for the accelerator program when we run it. And we only take around 10 to 12 of the top InsurTechs through.
Wow. It sounds very competitive and very exciting. I wanted to ask a little bit more about how, I suppose, Lloyd's Lab supports the development of these innovative solutions. So you already mentioned that it's an accelerator program, happens about twice a year. So what happens, I guess you can give a high level, not everything, of course, but a high level of what happens in these programs.
Yes, sure. So one of the things we're looking for is the companies, it's a 10-week program. We run it twice a year, as Kameron said. So what we need to do is we're looking for companies that want to work on their product development. So not business development. We don't want companies to come in and just network, because it feels a bit like they're just using us for networking opportunities and finding the best people to sell their products to. What we really want is people to say, I want to develop this dashboard. I want to make my previous startup that's only really worked in banking and asset management. I want to make it work for the insurance sector, or I want to start underwriting and writing insurance myself, or basically anything that they've got a plan of. They want to work on something in 10 weeks and they can only do it with mentors from the Lloyd's market. So the mentors are often very senior people within the market. So heads of innovations across companies you might recognize, like Chaucer, Munich Re, Tokyo Marine Kiln, AXA XL, all those different types of companies that are in the Lloyd's market. So they come in with a plan of what they want to do in the 10 weeks, and then mentors get matched up with the companies and they work together on their product development sprint. And then at the end of the 10 weeks, they will present on a demo day what they have developed within the 10-week program. And then commercial deals do often happen as a success, not as a success as like commercial deals often happen just as an outcome of the program. So when you've got mentors from the insurance market working with the startups, they will often want to have a commercial deal after the program, which in turn helps to innovate the Lloyd's market.
Wow. So if you wouldn't mind talking about, you already mentioned a little bit about what kind of collaborations and partnerships come. So you get that whole commercial, I suppose, thing that comes out of it from afterwards. But what does that mean? What's a commercial partnership? If you wouldn't mind explaining.
Of course. So this might be getting a little complicated, but in Lloyd's, there's a way that it works where a big insurer such as AXA XL, Munich Re, those type of companies, they're really big and they don't really focus on specific areas. So they will write insurance across war and terrorism, across liability, across property. But what they can do is they can give some authority away to companies which we call cover holders, or they're called MGAs, which are managing general agents. So they can give some authority away to these companies that are a lot more precise and a lot more narrow in their ambitions. So these are often the InsurTechs that come through the Lloyd's lab. So the InsurTechs might be focusing on insuring hurricanes in Latin America, which a big company in the insurance market might not necessarily have the expertise and local regional knowledge to focus on. So what they will do is give some underwriting capacity and authority through to one of the companies that have come through the Lloyd's lab to underwrite and sell insurance on behalf of the larger company. So this is often a commercial deal that we see. But other commercial deals can be, we also have InsurTechs come through that are tech providers or can help insurers and brokers in their day-to-day running of operations. And those InsurTechs can have commercial partnerships where they can like cut down loads of spreadsheet time or cut down loads of operating hours and things like that. So loads of stuff's happened like that. We had one InsurTech actually in that really supported with premium processing. So it might sound like something quite boring, but it takes a long time for insurers to process when money comes in from someone that's got insurance to partitioning it and giving some to brokers, taking some to themselves, investing some of it. So this InsurTech came in to make the whole premium processing a lot smoother.
Wow, very exciting. This is from my limited knowledge as someone who's not in insurance, but it's very exciting to listen to what kind of, I guess, partnerships and opportunities can really come out of such a small, I guess, space. So I wanted to ask a little bit more about what kind of emerging technology. So you already mentioned that a lot of the different partnerships you've had have been quite, I guess, innovative in the way that they're managing their InsurTech. But what kind of emerging technologies that I guess us regular people would know about things like AI and machine learning. What have you noticed so far?
Yeah, so AI is, as I'm sure you will know, has just become a huge buzzword everywhere, which includes the insurance industry. So AI is definitely an emerging tech. So we see different insurtechs doing different things with AI. So some insurtechs are using AI to process claims. Other insurtechs are using AI to help with distribution and with the support they give to brokers. But we actually had a really interesting company in our last cohort that actually are insuring AI risks. So the EU I think might have started recently, put a law in place that says if your AI is more than a certain percent inaccurate, so that you discriminate on particular things, you can be fined if you've got inaccurate AI. So I think, for instance, if it's 97% accurate, they can fine you on that 3% that's not accurate. So this insurance company, they're called Armilla AI. They came into the Lloyd's lab, and what they wanted to do was insure companies for that, say 3%, where their AI was not going to be accurate, so that they would not be fined by like EU regulators and things like that. So that's really interesting. Who would have thought you could get insurance for AI that's not accurate? Because everyone's using AI. So companies now need to protect themselves if their AI is not accurate, which has, I'm sure lots of you seen, AI can often give bias and things like that, which isn't always good. So AI is a big one. Cyber is a huge one in the insurance space. So loads more cyber solutions are being developed. And since like the outbreak of the war in Ukraine as well, like more cyber incidents have occurred. So more cyber insurances are popping up. We're also having, due to climate risk and like lots of topic about discussions about ESG, we're having a lot of climate solutions come in. So we have an insurtech in called Kita, and they insure the carbon credit market to make sure that you can get carbon credits, all things like that. So as I said before, when the world changes, insurance needs to change. So if companies are taking up carbon credit, you need insurance for it. I mentioned earlier as well about COVID-19 vaccine insurance. The vaccines had to be sent out at such a huge and fast rate. And one of our insurtechs had developed this tech, which means they could test when a vaccine went above a certain temperature or went below it, and it would give an automatic payout to those that had taken out insurance. So on lots of the occasions, it was governments that had taken out insurance to make sure COVID-19 vaccines could come to their country. And if the vaccines were spoiled, they would get an automatic payout. So there's been loads of that happening as well. So I think those are the main ones I can think of, like climate, cyber, AI. I think they're buzzwords in everything that's happening in the world, but also especially in the insurance market.
Yeah, wow, that was very exciting. I didn't really think about that. Like you mentioned, that AI, when it has those problems and when it's not really working, that you would have to insure something like that.
Yeah, especially as I think the EU are going to start fining companies. So if you've got huge companies like Google and 1% of their AI is inaccurate, I think they're going to be fined something like 3% of like their like whole everything they make. So it's a huge amount.
Yeah, that is huge. I wanted to bring it back to, I think you mentioned a lot about different companies like the Tokyo one, and then also AXA XL. We have our own reinsurances in Bermuda as well. Where, I guess, are your insurtechs coming from? Is it only London, or do you get them from different countries as well?
That's an interesting question. We're very global. We've actually had some themes to our accelerator programs trying to increase more global applications. So we had a European theme a year ago. We had an Asia Pacific theme, which just finished a few months ago. And now we're actually currently recruiting or trying to scout America's companies. So these are companies that are focusing on specific areas in those regions. So definitely not from London. I think we're very global. We've had loads from the Americas, so Canada, USA, but also Latin America as well, which has been really exciting. And then really all around the world. And we've got a Middle East and Africa theme happening after the Americas one, which will be really interesting.
I agree. I think when we spoke a little bit before, you mentioned the importance of having that local knowledge, especially for example, I'm going to bring it back to Bermuda. We have a lot of hurricanes there. So I think just like as a Bermudian, you would know a bit more about what to do when there's a hurricane or like how bad the damage would be. I guess what kind of perspective would you say that these InsurTechs have when they're coming from different countries? Are they able to give that local knowledge, and how do you think it changes?
Yeah, 100%. That's a great question. They have local knowledge just because they've lived there and grew up there, and they know the patterns of how things occur. But they also have local data providers, which is really important. Data is everything for insurance. And they have those relationships with local weather companies or local companies that gather any data. And they also have local connections to people that work in insurance in those areas. So it's really, really important, I think, for us to work with people that have that local and regional knowledge, just because based in London, you don't necessarily know the pattern of like natural disasters in like places in the Caribbean and things like that. So it's really important.
Very fascinating. And if you wouldn't mind sharing, I guess, a success story of one of the companies that you've had. So when we spoke a little bit before, I asked, like, would a InsurTech turn into a syndicate? So that's from obviously my not too knowing too much. But if you wouldn't mind explaining what kind of success stories you've seen coming out of the Lloyd's lab.
100%. And that was a really good question, because like ultimate success would be an InsurTech turning into a syndicate. However, these are startups. So to become a syndicate in the Lloyd's market would be crazy. But we have actually had one become a syndicate. And that was the one I mentioned, the one that does COVID-19 vaccine insurance. So they don't just insure COVID-19 vaccines. They insure all perishable goods along the supply chain. They're called Parcel. And they came to the Lloyd's lab with, they had like a great data solution and like dashboard. And what they wanted to do is to build out an insurance proposition. So if a perishable good like meat, poultry, like life sciences was not in its optimum condition with like temperature and humidity, that the person that takes out insurance would get an automatic payout. That's something called parametric insurance, which is basically you will get automatically paid out if levels are reached. So that is, if it goes below a certain temperature, the insured gets an automatic payout. So Parcel have actually done a public-private like work together across the public and private industry with governments, with the delivery of the COVID-19 vaccine, and they're a syndicate. So very interestingly, they're called Syndicate 1796, which some avid listeners might know 1796 was the year of the first vaccine. That was the smallpox vaccine by Edward Jenner. So they named their syndicate. They were thinking about their own insurance for vaccines and what number they could name it. All syndicates have to have a number. So that is, I guess, the ultimate goal, and Parcel reached it. But that is not the goal for lots of companies. So we've had lots, as I said before, that cover holder MGA, the ones that have the local knowledge. It's not just local knowledge, it's also specific knowledge. So I mentioned IVF insurance. We had a company called Kameron, and they became the world's first IVF insurance, which means if you went through IVF, if you did not have a live birth after a set amount of tries, you'd get a payout of however much it cost, and also mental health support and charges with that. So that has become a cover holder because they went through IVF, the IVF process themselves, had seen how expensive it was, and just thought there must be a way to make this easier for people in such a hard time. So they gathered loads of data and worked on like producing like correlations between when a successful IVF would and non-successful IVF would happen. And they came to the Lloyd's lab to develop their insurance solution, so you get that automatic payout. So that's like a really big success story from us, because they have obviously that intense knowledge about IVF, which not necessarily most other people have in the insurance industry. But it also shows that you don't need to have worked in the insurance industry before to join the insurance industry as an InsurTech and a startup, and work and generate revenue through it, because they did it themselves. And also, like, it's insurance for good. It's a good cause. So I'd say, like, those are some good examples, but we also have examples of a company called Optolytics that's come in. They're more of a tech provider. And what they did is they saved, I think, Lloyd's like I can't remember the exact number of hours of processing times for their claims and all of that. So that's just, you wouldn't necessarily think that's as exciting as IVF insurance. But if you're saving a company I think it was something like 180 days worth of hours. Some of you can work out how many hours that is for 180 days. If you're saving a company 180 days worth of work, think what those people can be doing in that time and the impact they can have when they're not doing manual processing of claims. So that's like amazing what Optolytics have done there. So I'd say those are some great, we have loads of companies, well, not loads, 124 that have gone through the program. Each one of them are doing completely different things. So I'd recommend having a look at our website and seeing what they're all doing.
Wow. I think what you said before about not necessarily needing to be in insurance first before you start going into this wonderful world of InsurTech. Could you talk a little bit about, I guess, what students can do, maybe if they're not currently in insurance, or maybe they are, and they want to get into InsurTech? What kind of skills, I think, would you recommend for them to have?
Yeah, I'd say just like be open. So something that's really important for my job is that like never turn people down, never think like an idea is silly or doesn't sound right. Like all ideas come from somewhere. And what I'd recommend, like, if you want to learn more about this type of startups that come into our like ecosystem, we have a pitch day, which is where the top 24 or so applicants for our accelerator program pitch for a spot on the program. And there's an audience watching and voting, and we'll vote in around half. And you can attend that. It is a hybrid pitch day. And so you can watch it online or come to Lloyd's in person, and I'll try and get the link shared with everyone watching. It's on the 21st of March, our next one. So save the date for then. It will be in the afternoon, late morning, afternoon UK time, which should coincide with America's timing as well for your early morning. So definitely attend that.
Perfect. Is that a virtual event?
So it's hybrid. So you can come in person in Lloyd's in London, or join via a Teams link if you want to watch from home.
Perfect. And I guess the last one I wanted to ask you was a little bit about the career opportunities that you can have when you're working in InsurTech. So I know you mentioned, we already talked a lot about how when you come in, you're a startup, but I guess for yourself, what kind of career opportunities have you seen, or even maybe your own career opportunity that you've
seen? So there's InsurTech career opportunities, then Lloyd's career opportunities. So I joined Lloyd's on the grad scheme 3.5 years ago, and would recommend it to everyone watching this, especially even if you think you're not necessarily interested in insurance. Like there's a business and a tech grad scheme, which I'd really recommend doing. You learn how tech and business is in a global company. It doesn't matter that it's insurance, it's skills you can use in any job you have. So I'd recommend that. And then for the Lloyd's Lab in particular, I loved it. And I think like there's always career opportunities in the Lloyd's Lab here. But in InsurTech, that's a different world. Like it's great. I think I've witnessed it. The InsurTechs, it's a great place where you learn and have loads of like career opportunities because they're startups. You get access to things you never would in a larger company. So you're having those really senior meetings with heads of departments and things like that when you're really junior. And you get given loads of those opportunities. Might only be 3 or 4 of you in a company, maybe a bit more, but often the startups they're trying to save a lot of money. So they'll have as little headcount as possible, which means you get like endless opportunities to grow your career. And you also might be doing like a few different things. So in another type of company, you might be doing like just a tech role. Whereas in an InsurTech, you could be doing like some tech, you could be picking up some other bits as well, operation bits, maybe even doing some HR on the side, like things like that. It's not like that in every InsurTech, but it's really good in that aspect. Also, like you can, if you join an InsurTech early enough, you can get like equity there. So you have some like options, which means it's quite exciting, as the growth is quite exponential. InsurTechs and startups, like, obviously have like a very steep incline in their growth, which is really cool. And so I'd say with InsurTechs, like the best way to find jobs out is if you just type InsurTech on like on like LinkedIn jobs, you'll be able to find jobs there, or just connect with them on LinkedIn, the different InsurTechs you see. So if you go onto our Lloyd's Lab website, you can see our alumni, connect with them, or get in touch with me. I'm happy for you to share my details, and like I can, often the InsurTechs, as I work in the Lloyd's Lab and work really closely with them, will come to me and say, oh, do you know anyone? that wants to work in tech or wants to work in data, and we can share your details. So please let us know. But yeah, insurance is great. InsurTech is great. And when I was at university, I'd never thought I'd be working in this world, and now I'm here. So it's crazy, and I'd recommend it to everyone.
Thank you so much for your time. Really enjoyed speaking with you, Chloe, and I hope you have a great day. And everyone, thank you for listening in.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Hi again, awesome listener. That wraps up another deep dive of Kameron's Lab Dive In. Before you dive back into your day, see what I did there? Take a second to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Want a behind-the-scenes look? Bonus content? Or just some good old STEM fun? Follow me on my socials, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Kameron's Lab. And remember, every episode is a new adventure, and we've got some thrilling dives lined up for you. Don't miss out! Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.